Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order our meeting of the Pitt County Department of Social Services Board this Tuesday, December 8th. And we're going to start our meeting by observing a moment of silence or silent prayer. Okay, thank you. First on the agenda this afternoon is our public comment. Susan?
None.
We have no public comment. Okay. Before we get started here, I think we're going to take roll since we have our board virtually meeting today. So if you would like to do, Susan.
Okay. Chair Cox,
Present.
Vice Chair Bunch,
Present.
Jerome Dancy,
Present.
okay. Catherine Nelson,
Present.
Mary Perkins Williams, not present.
I don't see Commissioner Williams here. Maybe she'll be joining us. Okay, thank you, Susan. So first on the agenda here is we need to adopt or revise today's agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Susan?
Okay. Mr. Chair Cox,
Agree.
Vice Chair Bunch,
Agree.
Mr. Dancy,
Agreed.
Ms. Nelson,
Agree.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And we're going to do the same with the minutes. You should have minutes in your packet. I need a motion to approve if there's no changes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. And Susan, let's go through the roll again.
Chair Cox,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bunch,
Yes.
Mr. Dancy,
Yes.
Ms. Nelson,
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on with a little bit of a tradition we've started here. We're going to be recognizing, introducing new hires, and I'm going to turn it over to Jan so she can do that and learn a little bit about our new folks here at Social Services.
Okay, great. We're excited to have 4 new folks with us today. They've all joined in November, and one lovely lady just joined us on Monday.
Oh,
so
my
we're so
goodness.
excited to have all
Scare her
these
away.
folks. Yeah. So let me call folks up, and I'll ask you to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about yourself. And so I'm going to start with Latasha Shelby, and if I mess up your name, please correct me.
So this is supposed to be fun, so no
Yeah,
pressure. Yeah,
No pressure. Yeah.
no pressure.
the
This is,
microphone.
this is
Go to the
supposed to be
microphone.
fun.
Yeah.
So you got my name right. Perfect.
Yay!
Good.
So thank you.
Okay, so you can
Okay.
talk with your mask or not your mask, whichever you prefer to do.
I just need that. So my name is Latasha Shelby. I have no experience in economic services, but my background is on the financial side of healthcare and in human services. So my hope is to marry everything together and support Pitt County's social services mission to enable the achievement of self-support and self-sufficiency.
Very nice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So she's in our intake unit, and
Okay.
we're excited to
Right.
have her there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Brandon Williams. Brandon's our new social worker in adult services. So introduce yourself, tell a
Welcome,
little bit
Brandon.
about what you're doing and where you came from.
Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, my name is Brandon Williams. I graduated from East Carolina University with my bachelor's in social work, and I have been doing adult services social work since graduating in 2013. So I'm happy to be here and continue my knowledge and continue helping the community I live in.
Welcome. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Welcome.
Okay. And I've got Jamesia Mercer, who is income maintenance and in redetermination. So they're excited to have you too. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Jamisha Mercer. I have no experience, but I did take the income maintenance class, took both parts of the class. Previously, I was in retail, Cato Corporation for 8 years. And I'm just very happy to be here.
A lot of customer service
There you go.
Yes,
background.
ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now Christina Avilas. And she is with Permanency Planning. She's a social worker too. And I'm as tall as her.
So you-
Actually,
you've
you're
done it-
taller.
you've done it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get her the stool to stand
She's
on
like
too.
this much taller than me.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm Christina Villas. I actually used to work here in the fraud unit. Went over to Wilson County for about 1.5 years, did crisis over there, and now I'm back doing foster care.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good luck.
Okay, so that's our new group and we're excited. And Christina's the one who just joined us yesterday. So
Oh,
she
my
came back
goodness.
for day 2 and we're excited to have her.
Okay. Well, again, we want to welcome everybody, and you can stay, or you can, if you have to leave, that's fine too. So, okay, Jan, I'm going to turn it over to you in terms of items for report, and we're going to talk about the MOU.
No, we're going to have our retirees first.
We're going to do
If
our
that works.
retirees
That's
first.
right.
That's right. I thought we had.
Okay, so we've got a couple of retirees. Unfortunately, Shamithia White could not be with us today. She is enjoying some vacation time before she officially leaves us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Shamithia. She's in child support, has been there for 15 years. And I got to know Shamithia the most during, we had an onboarding committee, and she was a real contributor to that committee. So certainly she is going to be missed by the folks in child support. The other individual who is retiring today is Elizabeth, or this month is Elizabeth White. Elizabeth, otherwise known as Kiki.
Kiki.
Yeah. Mr. Manager. And that's you. So Elizabeth's been with us about 20 years or so,
Oh, my
22, and you were with Edgecombe County for about 10. She's been an economic services worker. She's been our NC Fast guru. She helped teach NC Fast at the college when they first started that program. And now she is a staff development person working with our new staff around things like NC Fast and that. So we are excited to have you enjoy your retirement years and sad to see you go.
Yes, we appreciate your years at Pitt County government and here's a memento to that you picked out to recognize each other. So congratulations and many years ahead of enjoyment and happiness and health. And,
That's what I'm hoping for.
yeah,
I want to DIY my house. It's gonna be fun.
congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, now we'll move on to the MOU.
Okay, so we have had the memorandum of understanding for some period of time. The state started doing this about 3 or 4 years ago as a result of some legal changes by the legislature. So we've been out from under the MOU for about the last 6 months because of everything that's been going on with the state and with COVID, and just it's been a time that's been difficult. So the state has now issued a new memorandum, and so we will start walking through that. Everybody should have seen a copy of the actual document, and it's pretty standard language. It's the language they've used for some period of time. So we've got a slideshow for you that we will get started with. Okay, just lost the slides. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we have to sign a new memorandum. It's going to be an 18-month memorandum this time. The way the statute's written is it has to be from July 1 through June 30 because they want to get us back in the swing of things. We're going to start with January, so we will do an 18-month MOU just to get us back on track. Additionally, because of a variety of issues with trying to do all the measurements necessary for all the different standards, we are now only responsible for 16 of those original 26 standards. Certainly there is the possibility of corrective action. if we fail to meet the standards. And we still have penalties if we fail to meet the standards. Certainly the first penalty would be a corrective action type of penalty. There could be withholding of funds, or ultimately the state could come in and run a particular program based on performance and failure to meet the corrective action standards. So with everything except child support, the corrective action kicks in when you've had 3 consecutive months of failure to meet a standard, or failure to meet a standard for 5 months out of the most recent 12 months. With child support, it is because their standards on a year cycle. It's hard to measure them on a monthly basis. With child support, you have 2 consecutive years of failure to meet a standard rather than looking at months specifically. And you're not, if you read the MOU, it talks about we're not going to be deemed at fault if in certain situations, and it's basically those acts of God, things like hurricanes, other kinds of things like that. And this year they've added in or public health emergency. And so hopefully that will address all the different issues many counties are facing as it addresses COVID. So we're going to give you a little bit of the recent data for the 16 areas that we're being held accountable for, just so that you have some idea of where Pitt currently stands. We are using, there's a new dashboard that'll be going public in the next few months. It's called Ryland's Law Dashboard. It will be public facing. Right this minute, the directors have access to it just to kind of get a feel for how it's going to work and to see if we're seeing any particular errors. So we use that to help pull together the information, because that's kind of what it's going to look like in the future. So if you look at our food and nutrition services, we have to have 95% of our expedited applications processed within 4 days. Pitt County, over the period January through September 2020, had 96%. And you can see, based on this, what the other counties were doing. You had 86 counties who met at least the 95% threshold, had 14 counties that did not. If you look at the regular applications processed within 25 days, Pitt County had 97% processed timely. 96 other counties also did. There were 96 counties that also did as well. And you can see what the state average was, which was 96%.
That's good.
And you can see that the non-conforming counties, or those who were not meeting that standard, there were at least 4 of those in the state. So if you go to the next slide, you can see that adult services, I'm sorry, I skipped the recertifications. I'm sorry. The recertifications, the next slide would be 95% of recertifications processed on time. Again, you can see that Pitt County is meeting that goal, that measurement. You can see that 96 other counties are also meeting that measurement, and then that includes Pitt. There were 4 counties that did not. So again, we are meeting the requirements there. So then when you go to adult services, which is the next slide, you will see that the first standard is 85% of abuse or neglect reports are evaluated within 30 days, and that 85% of exploitation reports are evaluated within 45 days. So when you look at the first standard, Pitt County only met that 64% of the time. 94 counties were meeting that standard, 6 were not, Pitt being one of those. There are a variety of issues for that. We have seen significant increase in the number of reports. We have not seen as much an increase as far as it relates to staffing, although we have been fortunate to get a little bit of extra staff. The caseloads have increased about 50% since 2014 and about 25% since 2017. So you can see we've had significant growth. So that certainly has had an issue, and we struggle because of that issue. As it relates to the exploitation reports, you see a similar kind of situation, 84%. We were closer there. 94 counties met the standard, 6 did not. What I can say to you, and they will say this in the dashboard, is that the denominator, particularly for the exploitation reports, is usually very low. And so if you miss one, you could be out of compliance. And so we saw that a lot of times. We had several that it was like 3 or 4 cases that we evaluated, and maybe one we did not meet the standard in. So that has had some impact based on what the numbers are. But again, staffing too has an impact. So this is an area of concern and an area that we continue to work on. If you go to the next slide, this is the special assistance program. 85% of special assistance applications are processed within 45 days. You can see for Pitt County, 72% were processed within 45 days. 80 counties met the standard. 20 counties did not. And then when you look at the SAD, Special Assistance for Disabled applications within 60 days, 85% is the standard. Pitt met 81%. 86 counties conformed, 14 did not. Here I can say again, the small caseload sizes, because you're only dealing with, I think the biggest month I saw but one was like 5 cases, 4 cases, 2 cases. You know, one case can cause a significant problem. I can also say with both of the adult services areas that we've talked about, both the evaluations of abuse and neglect and the special assistance applications, there were some months we met it, but there were more months that we did not. So just wanted to throw that out. And clearly turnover and staffing have some impact there, but the biggest issue is small numbers.
So this is from January to September?
Yes, sir. Okay, so if you look now at Work First, we are seeing that of the 95% of applications processed and recertifications processed, we are meeting both of those standards. And you can see that the majority of the state is 89 counties and 82 counties. Clearly, there are some counties that, for some reason, we don't have data. And so we are not able to give you 100 of the counties, but you can see the bulk of the counties are conforming there. If you move to child support, and again, remember, child support is looked at on an annual basis. So what we're going to be giving you is the 1920 child support incentive goal report. So we're not using the dashboard for this. So the first standard we're held accountable for is the percentage of paternities established, and our goal is 100%. And as you see, we did 102.11%. 71 counties met this standard or their goal. Of the cases under order, Pitt County's goal is 89.79%. We were at 91.04%. And again, 61 counties met their specific goal. So we were doing well there. The next set of child support numbers that we're required to meet. One is that the percent of current child support paid. The goals again vary by county, and our goal is 66.51. We were at 64.35. You see 47 counties met their goal and 53 did not. And the percent of cases that received a payment towards arrears. Here you can see that the goal for Pitt County is 69%. We were at 67.16% at the end of the year. Again, 81 counties met their goal, 19 did not. And there are a lot of issues here. We have struggled with the meeting the percent of current child support paid for several years. If we miss it, we generally miss it by just a small piece of a percentage. Generally, we have met the cases receiving a payment towards arrears. And there are a variety of things. Not having adequate staff, particularly in the legal area, has had some impact. That's critical for us to meet these kinds of goals. And then, a little bit of this has been impacted by COVID, but it's a smaller period because it's the 1920 figures. And of course, during that early COVID period, the courts were working very, very, very limited basis. So it took a while to get back in place there. So then if you go to the next slide, which is child welfare, there used to be a significant number of child welfare slides
That's what I thought.
or factors. Right now, they have decided that the only thing that will be measured for as it relates to Ryland's Law is that 95% of foster youth have face-to-face meetings with social workers, and Pitt County hits that goal. 84 counties met that goal, 16 did not. The remaining child welfare data points that we're supposed to meet are still being handled through the federal reviews, and so it's still being looked at, but it is not part of the dashboard.
So do you get feedback on those other?
Yes, we do. We do. In fact, we, as I noted in my report to y'all, we just had a review the other day with several cases, and they gave us glowing outcome on those 2 cases they reviewed for that. So we were meeting the standards there. So then if we go to the energy at this point does not, we have standards, but we don't have data. The time standards have changed for energy. You still have to process within 1 business day, but they're now allowing us time to get information that's been requested before that clock starts. So hopefully we'll have that data shortly. Child care has no measures in the MOU, but it will be on the dashboard, and they are still developing what's going to be on the dashboard for that. But it's not part of the MOU. So that's kind of where we are with the MOU. That's a brief overview of the MOU just to bring you back up to date. I sent you all an outline of what each of these standards means and why it's important. So just when you get a chance, take a look at that. I'll stop for any questions that people might have.
She's having difficulty. She's on that open line that you hear crackling every
once
in a minute.
Okay, good.
So questions for Jan?
I see no hands.
So this information is from January to September, and I assume that you continue to track this for the,
Right, we will continue to track that, and we will start getting reports from the state periodically too, to give us updated in writing as to how we're meeting.
Okay, so internally, is this something you track on a monthly basis, Jan?
Yes.
So you would, okay.
Yes, we look at that monthly. And we certainly are working on how to address any areas that we are not performing as well in.
Questions, comments? Okay.
And at this time,
Thank you. Okay, thanks for that, Jan. You'll keep us updated on that. Okay, now to the annual report.
Okay. The annual report has been issued, and I think all of you all got a copy in your packets when they were mailed out. The report focuses on many of the things that we've talked about over the years, things that we've shared in the past, and I think basically speaks for itself. What I wanted to do today was to try and provide maybe some additional thoughts that build on the report and reflect on the year that we're currently having at this point. So we have some slides we'll run through. I think y'all got a copy in your packet. Certainly the pandemic has changed a lot of how we operate. It's changed how we deal with meeting with people. We're doing a lot more by phone, a lot of by internet kinds of things, but we still have a lot of face-to-face activities going on. And we have continued to work throughout the pandemic to meet the needs of the folks here in Pitt County. So this was our foster care celebration of our foster parents.
Yeah.
This was the foster parent celebration. And so we actually, we normally have a foster parent dinner. And this year we had a foster parent drive-through where we provided a meal for everybody in the family, a takeout meal, and some goodie bags and certificates. So that was sort of an example of how we had to switch gears and to do what we needed to do. So our next slide is one that you've seen before. We're certainly responsible for the money that we receive from the public and need to make sure that we spend it appropriately. We receive, and it causes me heartburn every time I say this, about $1/3 billion in support. As you see, the bulk of it is coming from Medicaid through the services that we provide by approving people for medical care. We have about $43 million in impact through food and nutrition. We collect about $16 million in child support, so that's not an expenditure, that's a collection. Our child care, we spend about $10 million there in child care support every year. And then the $31 million is for our child adult protective services, foster care, all the staff work that's done in that area, and paying for those kinds of services like the foster care payments, et cetera. So that's kind of how the dollars are spent. I think it's interesting to say that 3 cents of each dollar comes from the Pitt County sales and property tax. The rest of it comes through the taxes you pay to the federal government or the state government. So we can go to the next slide. The last 12 to 18 months have seen a lot of accomplishments in foster care and in our early educational child care program, and challenges in many of our programs, as you saw in the last report where we talked about what's going on in several of our areas that we're not meeting the standards we'd like to. And not the least of our challenges has been COVID and how we've had to address meeting our goals, our directives, our requirements, and still keep staff safe. So if we go to the next slide, one of the things we want to celebrate is what's been going on with our foster children. You can see the green bar, which is Pitt County, and you can see how we had that trend of 12 per 10,000 population. We had 12 children in care per 10,000 population. That was a dramatic increase. We were significantly above the state. We have certainly stabilized now, as you can see, and started down. And what I want to say is in June of 2017, we had 159 children in foster care under the age of 18. In June of 2018, we had 198 children in care under the age of 18. And by 2019, we had as many as 212 children in care under the age of 18. As of last month, we now have 179 children in care under the age of 18. So significant progress. And I can say that you can thank the staff for all the hard work that they've done, and the fact that we've been adequately staffed in that area has allowed us to do what we needed to do. And so we need to appreciate that and appreciate the staff. If you look at our children in subsidized care for child care, during the past 12 months, we have increased the number of children enrolled, and we have brought the wait list down. And you can see with the comparison between where Pitt County and North Carolina is, there has been that, whereas the rest of the state came down between October of 2019 to September of 2020 for children enrolled, we were able to enroll more children, and our wait list has gone down at the same time because of that ability to enroll children. We got a little extra money, which helped. We were able to take some time to update our wait list. So some folks have been on the wait list for a while, and when we contacted them, they no longer wanted or needed to be on the wait list. So we were able to do that. We were able to transition one of our child care eligibility staff into just working all the reports that the state gives us now, so that we can keep up with overpayments, underpayments. And it's not that those are fraud type things. They're situations where child care centers will report, and then they'll get a correction later. And so then you have to go get that money back. There are varieties of reasons why we're having to do work a lot of reports now that this is in NC fast. So we've got one person now assigned almost full time just to do that. So that also has helped with us keeping track of what is going on since we no longer write the checks in Pitt County for the child care centers. So we were excited to be able to give more children the opportunity to participate in quality child care this past year. So if you go then to the food and nutrition program, and I think here you're going to see probably the impact of COVID to some degree. And our trend has always been, we've always had more folks enrolled in food and nutrition services than as a state average. But you can see that we both, the state and Pitt County, had a sharp uptick in food and nutrition services. And certainly I believe part of that is the COVID impact there. So we're seeing a lot of folks in food and nutrition here in Pitt County now. Staff are working really hard to keep up with the applications that are coming in. So now if you go to Medicaid, which is the next slide, you're seeing something else here too. We are growing faster than the state. Wow. Again, I have to think that some of this in this most recent uptick has a little bit to do with COVID, but it's also been growing because of other reasons too. So this clearly shows you the numbers that we're seeing coming in the door for Medicaid. And in Pitt County, roughly 24% of the population is Medicaid. We see close to 25% now is Medicaid enrolled. So
That is something.
yeah. So if you look at the Medicaid enrollment by type, you will see that the bulk of our growth has been in family and children's Medicaid, and we have the 4th highest percentage in growth of all 100 counties. You're seeing the other programs are growing, but growing very slightly. So that's important, I think, to note. Then if you look at it compared to the state growth, and Susan can do the slide for us there, you'll see Pitt County on the left, and you can now see that at the state level, it's grown 31% if you look at the state as a whole. So again, you're seeing growth throughout the state, but Pitt County has had significant growth. So where are we? What's happening? What's coming in the new year? Certainly Medicaid transformation is beginning with people enrolling in March and everything going live July 1. We are continuing to implement trauma-informed practices here in the agency, very active both with the community trauma activities as well as our own work with our foster children and our children in child welfare in general. We are supporting the community's recovery from COVID-19, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we're doing that in just a few minutes. And we are working really hard to expand our employment services to our non-custodial parents who pay child support, so that hopefully they'll actually be able to pay child support and not have arrears or even worse, be incarcerated because they're unable to pay their child support. So that's something we're working really hard to get a handle on. This probably, again, was not the best year to try and start an employment program, but we are working really hard to try and get that going. So we continue to adapt our operations as it relates to our clients. And so here was our foster children's graduation ceremony where we did a drive-by for them. So, you know, it's been a year of change, and we're doing what we can to stay in touch and to stay on top of things. So I'll stop and see what kinds of questions you have.
It was a good report, Jan. Thank you. So any questions for Ms. Elliott?
Dr. Bunch?
Dr. Bunch?
Yes, did I miss the explanation for the increase in the Medicaid applications for families and children? That just seemed to be startling.
You know, there are probably a variety of reasons for the increase. One, of course, is that COVID has hit, and so folks have been out of work, and so have gotten Medicaid. I do think prior to that, we were already seeing growth, And so it could be a variety of things. We're doing a really good job, I believe, from the health department and the hospital and everybody else who touches mothers, pregnant women, to try and make sure that they have healthy babies. And so getting mothers enrolled for prenatal care and keeping those children enrolled after they're born has been one of the big pushes and has been very critical. So there are a lot of different reasons. You know, Pitt County has a pretty good poverty rate. And I think that keeps us higher than the state as a whole in general. But I think that growth can be attributed to a variety of things. But I do think COVID helped push it over the top.
Because that rate is 20% higher than the state growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Other
you.
questions?
Hey, Jan,
Yes, sir.
do you know how we fare against the Medicaid rates of the surrounding counties, Beaufort, maybe Edgecombe? Are their numbers spiking as well?
I think everybody's numbers are growing. Again, we have the 4th highest growth rate in the state. So I don't think it's, I can't tell you whether Beaufort's one of those top 3 above us or right below us. I don't know. I haven't really looked at that. But when we were pulling these numbers together, it was startling to see that we had the 4th highest.
Okay.
I can check that out though and let you know.
No, I mean, I was just curious. I mean, I'm kind of with Dr. Bunch on that. Those are some high numbers.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, we're gonna move into the director's report. So Jan,
Okay.
you're back on stage.
This seems to be my day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do a couple of quick things. The low income energy assistance program did kick off in November for those folks who received last year, who were over the age of 60 or receiving certain types of disability benefits. We had we estimate we had 1,098 who were automatically approved based on the information we had available on December the 2nd. The state has not issued the final report, so there could be a bit of a change there, but that's where we are. The regular walk-in, call-in, apply over the internet applications have started as of December 1. We've not been able to key anything until today because they were still processing the automatic benefits. And so they didn't want to have any confusion with the 2 different groups. So we start keying today. We've been taking applications since the opening up of December, the 1st of December. And it's been kind of slow, but I suspect part of that is because over 50% of the folks that normally apply were automatically made eligible this year. So that's been part of what slowed it down. And certainly that was the goal, was to keep as many people out of the waiting rooms as possible. So that is doing what it was supposed to be doing. We will begin the regular applications for LEAP on January 2nd, I guess it is. I have to stop and think about what day is the first. January 4th, I think, is the first work day. So we will start then for the general population. We do anticipate a significant number of folks are going to be coming in to apply and don't know how long the monies that we have, a little over $1 million, how long that will last. What I can say is we will be taking applications over the internet. The portal for the ePass for energy will start in January. And we're also doing as many applications by phone and mail as we can to help protect folks from coming into the building. So that energy is moving. I think we have 4 or 5 sites, several in that Ms. Perkins Williams got us that are north of the river. And we have a couple of other sites in town and in other parts of the county. So folks don't have to necessarily come to our office. Where you can go is listed on our website. So the exciting thing, I'll stop. Anybody got any questions about energy? The exciting thing is that we were notified that we did receive the COVID coronavirus grant. You probably saw that. If you watched the commissioners meeting last night, they did set up the budget for that. We will receive $899,484. Our goal is to begin recruiting as soon as possible for the 3 temporary staff that we're hiring to help administer this program. We anticipate helping around 1,500 families or individuals with this. About 900 we anticipate would be rental assistance, and about 600 would be utility assistance. But, you know, that was ballparking it based on the best information we had at the time. So we'll see how that goes. Just as a reminder, we can serve people who are at 80% of the LMI or low moderate income, which would be income level of $53,360. It is for rent or utilities that are coming from COVID related issues as to why you haven't been paying that rent or utilities. We already know when we were putting the grant together that Pitt County has probably a higher eviction rate than compared to even Wake and Mecklenburg County pre-COVID. And so we know that that's been an issue here for a long time. You have to think about the fact that our poverty rate here in Pitt County is 23, 24%, depending on when you're looking at the information. We have about 47.6% of our families living in rental households. And that, just as a reminder, the median rent, the last time I looked, which was 2014, 2018 figures, was $778 here in Pitt County. So we anticipate a lot of activity. We have been getting through NC Care 360 and other sources, people making referrals to us for rental assistance. And unfortunately, we don't have the dollars to provide the kind of support that folks need for that until this grant came through. What we have been doing is referring folks to the other programs that were out there. And so we're excited about being able to start helping ourselves with that issue. Again, we probably won't be able to start doing that until around February, because you've got to get through the contracting, the hiring of the staff, the training from the community development folks, et cetera. So we're hoping to get started by then. We will certainly put out information about the fact that we are starting and what the requirements are and how we're going to serve folks once we've jumped through all of the requirements that we need to do. There was a press release put out today to the community to let the community know that this has occurred, with information that it would probably be a couple of months before we'd be ready to actually start serving people. So I'll stop with that to see what questions you have from that. But we're excited.
Questions?
I see a hand from Dr. Bunch.
Dr.
Well,
Bunch?
congratulations on
Absolutely.
receiving the grant. The question I have is, how many staff will you hire to administer the program?
We're looking at 3 temporary staff, and they will be social work 1 level staff to work with these folks.
And Jan, organizationally, where would this fall?
They're going to fall under our crisis programs that we already have. They will be housed at the government circle address, working with Teresa Fleming. So, and we anticipate a lot of coordination between our regular crisis staff and this group.
Absolutely.
Because there'll be situations where they're going to overlap. And so we felt like that was the best place to put the group.
Mm-hmm.
And the duration of the grant?
It's until it runs out. I think we have
Okay.
3 years to spend it. We are anticipating that this will be over pretty quickly, which is why we're not telling folks how long they'll have a job. They'll have a job till the money runs out. But $900,000. We're hearing and seeing requests for thousands of dollars worth of assistance for rental assistance as it comes across. So we are going to be asking that the person who needs the assistance contribute something. We're going to be asking that the landlord forgive a little of what's owed. And we're going to be asking that there be a new signed lease for a period, a certain period in time, so that they don't just pay the rent and then get evicted anyway. So those are some of the things we're trying to put in place.
I have a question, Mrs.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
There's an issue here related to the landlord has raised the rent like of a resident every year, and they are raising rent now. And they said if the rent isn't paid and they are renting a lot, they have to move their home. And there's no place to move their home and no place, they don't have land, they're just renting a lot. And they raise the rent every year. It has been going up. Is there something that can be done about that, you think?
Not as far as this program is concerned. Certainly, there may be some other resources in the community that folks could talk to, but this program would not be dealing with that particular issue. Rents going up everywhere. I mean, apartment rents are going up or have been. And so I'm not surprised to hear that lot rents for mobile homes are going up also.
Well, I was just talking to some people in the Raleigh area that maybe that something can be done. But if they're raising the rent during a pandemic and people are not working and they're having a hard time finding food and everything else, and they're still raising, I find that very sad.
It is sad, certainly.
Very sad.
Yeah.
And now the people are scuffling, trying to find out what they're going to do.
Right, and it costs a lot of money to move a mobile home. Yeah, so that might be a conversation we can have offline if you want to have that conversation.
I will, and I certainly would like to maybe include the attorney with it as well.
Okay, well, maybe what we need to do is have some conversation. I'll talk to you later. We'll talk about it later.
Right. Okay. I just thought about that because I've gotten a call from a couple of people, and they say the whole cost is having that kind of issue. And I said, well, we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Any other? I see Ms. Nelson has her hand up.
Hey, Jan. So this money, do you foresee that your staff that you're going to hire will be able to connect people to some of these resources using NC Care 360 for rent resources, or if there's a resource referral made, or do you suspect that your the workers within DSS, besides the ones you're going to hire with this money, will probably be able to help expend some of this money in appropriate ways to make sure that the people impacted by COVID can stay in their homes and pay their utilities?
That would be our goal. We're already seeing a lot of individuals as it relates to utilities and the moratorium on utilities. I talked with our crisis staff today, and we're seeing about 75 applications a day for folks wanting help with utilities. Some of those are coming through the NC Care 360 portal from the community health workers, those kinds of folks. Some are coming from folks just walking in the door and saying, I need help with my utilities. And so they are working hard right now. They're actually working a little bit overtime every day just to try and keep up. So we're seeing that, and we will continue to work with that. There are a lot of things that our crisis dollars can't pay for that would connect to utilities. Our crisis dollars can pay for the electric bill, but if you're with GUC, you're paying sewer, garbage, all those other kinds of things, and we can't pay those things. And since we can't pay those things, if what we can pay is not enough to get the bill to the level GUC will keep their electricity on, then they could still have be in trouble. And so this is a way that hopefully the dollars that we get through this grant can help make those connections. We're cobbling together lots of different funds already to try and assist. And of course, we're asking the clients who come in to what they can pay. Many of our clients are already on the payment plans to try and get back in where they need to be with catching things up, but they are so far behind that in order to do this in 6 to 12 months, they can't afford to make those payments and make their regular payment too. So folks are in kind of a catch-22 as it relates. So we're going to try and help with that. As far as the rent, what we're hoping is that we can get the landlords connected and work with the landlord and the tenant together so that we can keep folks in their housing, and so that they will still have a roof over their head. And of course, all we're dealing with is the evictions due to non-payment of rent. And so if they're being evicted for some other reason, we would not be in a position to assist them with these dollars. But that doesn't mean we wouldn't necessarily refer them to some other resource who might could help them get into some other type of housing situation. So the social workers here will be connecting as many directions as they can connect if we can't serve them.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Jan? I think this is wonderful. I'm glad you went after this money. And
be careful what you ask for.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
So-
we're excited. I hate to see folks on the street. I really do.
And I think it was just last month, we heard from the folks from Trillium.
Mhm.
Amy Maudlin came and presented about the Hope Project in terms of things and their efforts. So this will just be another tool that we'll have in our
Right.
community tool belt.
In fact, when she talked with us last month, a day or two later, they actually said they had gotten all the applications they could serve. And so again, that tells you what the need is out there. And so we anticipate seeing a lot of people either by phone or whatever, that we'll be serving. So we expect to have the doors open.
Well,
Okay, so if there are no other questions on the grant, we'll talk about the Medicaid application processing report. Again, you can tell that we're struggling from day to day as it relates to COVID, because you never know who's going to be at work. But as you can see, we are still meeting the standards that we need to meet. We process 93% of our Medicaid applications for the disabled on a timely basis, and the goal is 90. And we process 90% of our other Medicaid applications on a timely basis. So we are meeting those goals. You can tell we've had a dip here and there. The one that we had in August, that one is going to count against us in the 5 out of 12 months. The one in March, we have, put together a report that has taken that off the table, but so that was not going to count against us. We are still processing cases within 64 days for the MAD, and we have up to 90, and 28 days for the other Medicaid, and of course 45 is the goal there. So staff are working really hard. We have several vacancies in that area, and again, COVID is having an impact. Not so much that the staff themselves are getting sick, although there are a few. The biggest issue is that their families are getting sick, and so they're having to quarantine. from that standpoint. So, and then with the school issues, several have been out helping their children. So that's the Medicaid report. Any questions? If not, I'll move on then to the agency personnel report, the vacancy report. As of the time this report was put together, we had 21 vacancies. And you can see that they're in various places within the agency and in varying stages of interviewing, advertising, background checks, whatever. Staff are working hard to get positions filled. And you know, a couple of them folks have declined the offer, and we've had to go back and re-advertise. But we're working hard to get those positions filled. Gonna have the 2 retirements to fill now, but
Sure. So does COVID complicate this process? Do you see as many applicants, or are people moving as much?
we're seeing probably about the same number of
Are you?
applicants based on what I've seen. And we're not seeing folks being too concerned about moving. Now, we've always had some hard to fill positions, and they continue to be hard to fill positions, but I don't know that COVID's having a big impact. We are doing interviews still on a face-to-face basis. So we have not gone to Zoom interviews at this point, although we've talked about it a couple of times.
Mhm.
So that's where we are with agency
Wow.
personnel. Don't know if anybody's got any questions there. You should have in your packet a list of the meeting schedule for 2021. So just wanted to call that to your attention in case you hadn't noticed it. So that's my report.
That was a lot. That was a
A lot
lot.
going
Thank you
on.
very much. Okay, so we are about finished up here. We're going to move on to board member comments. I know one of the things we need to think about is our retreat, in terms of maybe scheduling a time to do that, our planning session. We had talked about the possibility of doing it in February, and we had talked about possibly using the Ag Center so we could separate and I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that, any preference, any ideas. We could do it in February. We could put it back another month, but I just wanted to throw it out there for discussion.
I think it's going to be important for us to have strategic planning moving forward, especially with in the context of COVID. There's so few of us. I think we could probably do it safely, especially in the Ag Center.
Dr. Butch.
Dr. Bunch?
I would agree with Ms. Nelson regarding that it's important for us to get together and strategically plan.
Okay. So did we look at the possibility of maybe doing it at our next February board
Right.
meeting?
We can have Cooperative Extension's auditorium at our regular February board meeting. We've booked the afternoon as a tentative, just in case y'all decided to do that. So we can get a block of time. It would be longer than just an hour for sure. It'd be the afternoon or most of the afternoon.
So if people are in agreement to that, maybe we can think about moving forward with that, and we'd have to work on an agenda and do planning. That this gives us a couple months to be able to do that. And we'd be looking at Tuesday, February the 9th to put that together.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on that? Okay, if not, other board member comments?
I have a comment. I would like to remind all of the residents, please do not plan any subject where there are a group of people gathering together.
Don't gather
That's
together.
causing the numbers to go up with COVID. Please, let us all come together to look recording the numbers coming down. And to be safe, wear your mask, social distance, and sanitize. Thank you. Good day.
I think we would all agree with that, wear, social distance, wear your mask,
Absolutely.
be safe, all those things that Ms. Perkins Williams was saying. So, especially as we come up on the holiday season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other comments? Questions? Okay. With that being said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And thank you. And I'm going to ask Susan to do the roll call and we will call it a day.
Chair Cox,
Approved.
Vice Chair Bunch,
Approved.
Mr. Dancy,
Approved.
Ms. Nelson,
Approved.
Ms. Perkins Williams.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.